All right, here we go. Here we go. We on. Hey, Ron, let's get the mute button going. Here we go. There we go. Hey, let's do a rewind. Let's play that intro again.
Hold on, guys. Let's do it one more time. One more again. I don't know what's going on here. Something's not right here. Hey, there we go.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, we are back. Yes. Now I know what happened. You know, the system here, it puts you automatically on mute. And I guess I was like, okay, I got to take myself off mute when it's going to do it on its own. And I wound up putting myself back on mute. Okay, it is what it is. You know what I mean? You would think I know that by now, but hey, listen, today's been a crazy day, guys. There's been a lot of rumors, a lot of wild stuff going on Twitter. People are losing their minds. We're like, you know what? I woke up today not knowing what was going to happen. Then by lunchtime, I thought I might have Donovan Mitchell on the Knicks. Then by the evening, I said, okay, it's going to happen. It's going to be, and now we have nothing. So
completely dormant, right?
Yeah, just hasn't turned out the way we would have hoped so far, guys. We're getting there. It just I don't know what to say. Look, this is going to be a rough summer. I mean, and unless something happens tomorrow that you know makes us forget about everything today and we're right there, I think we're gonna just have to chalk it up to this is a process. We got to be patient and just hope for the best.
You're spot on. You are definitely spot on. You know, we were chatting it up a little bit, you and I, over text, and it seemed like something was about to brew. But as we all found out, that you know, sometimes the rumor mill has a mind of its own, and now we're in a situation that we're in. But I think for all of us as Knicks fans, we just have to remain patient and see when the chips fall where they may. You know. There's going to be arguments regardless. There's going to be an argument whether we give up a plethora of picks and players, or if you know, we don't make the trade. So either way, we're not every Knicks fan's going to be happy. So we just got to stay tuned.
Yep, I agree with that statement. That's the bottom line, folks. We you know, I would say the majority. I'm not going to say everybody because it's not everybody, but the majority of us want this trade to get done already. But guess what? When the trade happens, there's going to be some upset people. It has to happen that way. Somebody's going to be included in that trade if it happens. I think it's going to happen, but you know what I mean. if it happens, somebody's going that people don't want to see go. It's just we're gonna have to deal with it. I'm still trying to warm myself up to it. Today was rough because I was like, man, if it's happening, then this person is going. And I'm like, am I ready to see this person not be on the Knicks? And I don't know
Right.
if I'm ready yet, bro. But it is what it is.
Listen, there's going to be a lot of that talks. Even coming up to the actual move, you're starting to see it. Like every Knicks station, whether you're on Twitter or you're on YouTube, you're talking about what the potential trade could be. We did a show last week about what those potential trades what that could potentially be. Um, I'm not trying to dawn over it too much. I'm just trying to wait and see if it actually happens. But we're at the state where we're in. We're in the off season. There isn't much going on, so trades are going to be the talk of the town, especially when you got a player like Mitch, who's available. At least that's what Utah is saying.
Yeah, that is what Utah is saying. So we'll see what's gonna transpire, man. I'm ready for some good news. I'll tell you that. I don't know how much more of this waiting I can take. It's
Right.
killing me.
But you're on the you're on the side of making the trade happen, regardless of how many picks we give up.
Yeah, I'm pretty much. I'm resigned to the
You're
fact.
sold.
Yeah, I'm good. I'm good on
Right.
it. Let's make it happen. I'm ready. That's I guess that's one of the good things about it taking so much time. If I had any reservations, I'm like, let's go. Let's
Mm.
go. Let's get it done.
Right. Right.
Yeah.
And that's the biggest thing. Like for me, I'm good either way. Whether he comes to the Knicks or he doesn't, I'm good either way. I could see the Knicks coming into next season with Spider here, with Donovan Mitchell here, or with him not here. So
Yeah. Yeah. I'm with you on that. I mean, I wonder how many people we got 183 people watching right now. I wonder how many of y'all are okay with the team the way it is. Like um do you feel comfortable if Donovan doesn't happen, or do you feel like it's a failure on the front office that they couldn't get it done? That's
mm,
that's a uh, I know it's a question that people have already thought about, but I'm just wondering, like, what do you guys think? Like, is it something that I mean, because there's a lot going on, and it's not easy to pull off these type of trades. And if Leon's ready to do it, okay. But if Danny Ainge is like, look, I want your newborn, I want your college fund, I want you don't know what he wants. So if he wants too much, man, I don't know.
as long as it's not a Bobby Bonilla move, I'm good.
Although
you know,
although shout outs to Bobby Bonilla, one of the greatest contracts ever. Just
shout
ever.
outs to his agent. I just
Oh
hope it
man.
ain't something that the Knicks have to be withholding to. So,
And
um,
and and just for those people who may not follow baseball, or may not know about the Bobby Bonilla contract, it was one of those legendary contracts that I don't think you'll ever see in sports again. Definitely, once it happened in baseball, NBA, the NFL, they was like, not we're not letting that happen. He basically got like a 30-plus year contract, where he gets $1
yeah,
million every year. I mean, it's like it's the gift that keeps on
it's
giving.
nuts. It's crazy.
Yeah. So we are still on schedule, guys. We're hoping to be with James Hansen from Hoops Nerd Jazz shortly. He should be with us in a little bit. But we are rocking with you right now, and we're here to let you guys know that there's light at the end of the tunnel. Like, it's not over.
We're gonna
Whether or
be all
not
right.
this whole thing happens tomorrow or in the next week, it's a positive thing, and things take time. And if it doesn't happen, then guess what? We're okay, because the Knicks can they're still on the right path. They're still continuing to get better. It may take a little longer to acquire one of those star type players. If it doesn't happen, that's all I'm saying.
Right. Shout outs to Almighty, you know, Finesse, Almighty Finesse. He's sold on it. He's already saying that it's a done deal.
He's
So
like,
shout
no need
outs
to
to
wait. It's
Almighty
a done
Finesse.
deal. Salute,
I got
Almighty.
you. I feel
I like the
you.
positive vibes.
Yeah, I'm with you. I'm with you.
I like
But
that.
I
I like
think
that.
what do we do? Like what's the official word, right? Does it have to come from Woj? Like what's the official word?
Yeah, I guess it's got to come from. I think Woj is the closer. Shams is the person who puts it out there. Like this is what's
Okay,
going on. Woj is the closer. That's when you know it's
gotcha.
official. He's the Jay
He's
Boogie of the
nice.
media, if you will.
Media. Yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. I got you.
So you know what? Why don't we just say what's up to everybody while we can? Salute to everybody
Yeah.
in the chat, all you guys, Almighty Finesse, BB, Steve Mendez, David, G-Man 78, Infamous New King, Brooklyn Butch, Angel Torres, uh,
Mm.
Oh, look at the Queen is in the building. Dope Soul Sports Talk, guys. Salute. Definitely check out her
Salute.
show. You know she's always coming with the hot content on MBK. And well, Dope Soul is actually off of NBK, but you get it. You know what I'm saying. Um, Truth and Lies of the Philippines. Appreciate you. Kerry Cox, Duke the Don. Duke the Don. I get it. Shaw Powers is in the building. JW, Tough Love. I think I said JJ already, but if I didn't, JJ. Rafael Diaz. And excuse me, I'm going through this quick, but I want to give you guys some love if we can. Harmon Sarai. It's me. You see anybody, John? Drip Moore's in the
Uh
building.
yeah, I see who we got? We got David G, we got Thomas Banks, Ronald Bradley, Kerry Cox, JW, Clinton Sims, Nick Yak, Warren Franklin, Daniel Logan. Appreciate you all. Salute.
Wooden Pearl is in the building. East Blue Drew, Hawkeye, Illmatic, CAA Mafia. Yeah, we need you, man. CAA Mafia. Let's get it going, bro.
Let's
We
go.
need you.
You're on the clock.
Right. Chef NYK is here. Nick Yak's in the building. New Yorkers here. Bangs and Aces live and direct is here. The Knicks is in the building.
Nice.
Let's see.
Truth
J3
and Lies of
Lacrosse
the
is here.
Philippines are here too.
Yes, of course. Sharice Duncan is in the building. Daniel Logan's here.
And we got a nice tune in.
Yeah. DJ Space Goat is in the building. Billy Goat is in the building. Sean Kearns is here. Oroku Saki. Dollar Bill is in the building. Dollar Bill. Jay Tapp is here. All right. I think I did a good job. I think we did a good job, John. Dan Marrero is in the building. What's good? All right. Thank you guys. Appreciate you for tuning in. So while we wait, I also wanted to just once again give you guys a special shout out for rocking with us and supporting the show. The numbers have been going up. It's been a really good time for the Nothing But Knicks crew, as well as still Knicks fans. We can't tell you how much we appreciate the support rocking with us here on platforms and on Twitter. We got to 1,000 subscribers on Twitter. So thank you guys for all the love and support. Appreciate you so much. So
Look
what I
at
want
us.
to do.
There is going to come a time where we are following less people than are actually following us.
Yes, hopefully we'll get there
Hopefully.
soon. So, all right. So you know what? This might be a good time to, being that Jalen Brunson was introduced, right, in the controversial introduction with no press. Listen, it is what it is, man. I don't know what to say. I don't know how you feel about that, John. I get it. It's a little funky, but I mean,
What do you call the Bill Pito? Bring it. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I mean, listen, it's I don't know. It's crazy. It's crazy.
The problem that they had is that the beat reporters weren't able to show up, and it was more of a fanfare than an actual, like what they did with Kemba, where they opened it up to the reporters who covered the Knicks, and they were able to ask pressing questions like, where's your favorite place to go when you're in New York? What's your favorite restaurant? Those things that you actually need to hear about.
Yeah, I know. They really softballed it up there today. I mean, yesterday. But
No,
was it yesterday or the day before yesterday?
This happened when Kemba came.
Oh, well, yeah, but
Like,
they're known for doing that. So,
but
like, that's what I'm saying. That's part of the reason why,
yeah, but that's why I don't understand why the press was so, like, specifically, individuals who cover who are beat writers for the Knicks. Like, why are you so, like, bent over backwards because you weren't invited? Like, what were you gonna ask
right?
specifically? Were you gonna ask the real CAA question, or were you not? Like, that's because 9 times out of 10 they aren't gonna ask that pressing question, not during that time. So
Exactly. I mean, that's the whole thing. We gotta understand that. Well, we know how the New York, I mean, media is in general, but the New York media is, it's especially when it comes to the Knicks.
you know
So
what that is? That's called privilege.
facts,
So
facts. All right, guys. So I see James is here with us. We're gonna bring him up. And thank you to, I appreciate, him for definitely making himself available. We're on a time difference here. He's on mountain time, we're on eastern time, so it's definitely a little different. So let's get him up here.
awesome.
Hey, how's going on, man? How
How's
are
it
you?
going?
It's good. Sorry about that. Dinner went long.
No.
No worries. We all got to eat.
Yeah, we gotta eat,
Yeah.
man.
Oh my gosh. You probably don't want to hear about my dinner problems, but yeah, I'm glad to be here. Thanks for having me.
No. Thank you for being here with us. We appreciate it. I was very curious a couple weeks ago as this whole thing started, rolling out with the possibility of Donovan getting moved, and then as quickly as the thing was out there, like it could be a possibility, they kind of shut it down, and then we got the real okay. Maybe now we're going to look at some offers and everything's happening. So I had thought about possibly bringing someone on who did, podcast in Utah for quite some time. We just, wanted to make sure that it was right. Like at least the buzz was real. Now, what would have been great is if the trade would have been consummated today. Then we really would have had something to talk about. But it is what it is.
Oh, I thought that honestly, because I messaged you and I said that trade might be going down because there are a lot of rumors going around here in Utah, and it's a small world out here, and like news travels fast. And like you said, I cover the Jazz for SLC Dunk. Plus, I have the Hoops Nerd YouTube channel. I thought for sure I'd be writing something tonight because it sounds, from all the rumors going out there, I mean, I wouldn't be surprised if the trade happens tomorrow. It sounds like they are like right there, but
Right.
we'll see what happens. But, I'm sure Knicks fans have an idea of what they want to give for Donovan Mitchell, and I'm sure Jazz fans have an idea of what they want to receive. It sounds like that's just been what's been they've been hashing out, Leon Rose and Danny Ainge and Justin Zanuck. I don't know. I actually wouldn't be surprised if the trade was like tomorrow, because we had heard rumors today from multiple people, and some of our writers are connected to certain people, and a bunch of them have heard that the trade is right there. That from what they're saying, it sounds like 5 picks and Obi Toppin, Grimes, and then possibly Evan Fournier. Sounds like kind of what the trade is going to be.
That's what I heard.
Is that what you heard?
So let's do this because we didn't do proper introductions yet.
I was actually just about to say once again,
It's all good.
We are here with James Hansen of SLC. Is it SLC?
Yep, SLC, like Salt Lake
SLC
City.
Dunk,
Yep.
as well as Hoops Nerd Jazz. And so I believe you write for SLC Dunk, and then you have the podcast, the Hoops Nerd podcast. Is that how it is, or you do both?
Exactly. So I manage the team there at SLC Dunk, and so we cover the Jazz on the SB Nation blog, kind of like Posting and Toasting, if you guys follow them at all. And then I have my own YouTube channel and podcast that I do. So
gotcha.
Awesome. Well, welcome.
Thank you for being here with us. Obviously, I'm Ron, and that's John from Still Knick Fans, and we happen to do a wonderful collaboration with the Nothing But Knicks network, and so we are here to give you guys the NBA report, which allows us to bring a guy like you on to talk about the Utah Jazz, and it's only right. It fits.
Definitely does.
Yeah. No, it really it's a nice change of pace because we talk Knicks like 24/7 every week. So it's nice to kind of break up the monotony sometimes and talk about some other teams. Also, it's good to find out a little bit more about the NBA because when you're so locked into your team, you're not really, I don't know who's here, who's there, but this forces me to look at what's going on around the league. And I think John feels the same way. It's pretty
Absolutely.
cool.
Absolutely.
So,
I
go
got a
ahead.
question. So, seeing that you already sort of have a projection of what this trade may potentially be, how do you feel as a Jazz fan with this move happening? What is in your thoughts as a fan about bringing in Obi Toppin, Grimes, and you said Fournier and 5 picks? What does that feel like as a fan?
I mean, I think that feels pretty good. I mean, Donovan Mitchell is a guy that's pretty beloved here in Utah. I mean, it was pretty clear this last year that it did seem like he wasn't quite as in it. And we've had like a couple years of just like stories about Rudy Gobert and Donovan Mitchell and like the locker room not being the greatest and all sorts of problems going on there. And you guys probably from afar watched the Jazz. They gave up a 3-1 lead to the Clippers 2 years ago. Last year, they couldn't even beat the Mavericks without Luka Doncic for 3 of those games. And so it just kind of felt like this Jazz team had really kind of hit their ceiling of what they could be.
Right.
And I think, and me especially, I actually felt like before last season, we kind of knew that, but they went with it anyway. And the season ended worse than we expected. With that loss to the Mavericks was pretty pathetic. I'm not going to lie. That was just like pretty awful. And so it was very clear, like they had hit a ceiling and they needed to do something different. And so, the thing about the Jazz is that they're just getting older and older. I mean, Bojan Bogdanovic is in his early 30s. Mike Conley is kind of at the end of his, he's at the tail end of his career. You're not like the Knicks where you have younger prospects and guys that you're developing, because the Jazz, they didn't have a pick in this draft. They didn't have a pick. They didn't have a good pick last year, and they ended up trading back to the second round and got Jared Butler. And so the Jazz are just like depleted of assets. They are like the opposite of the Knicks. They have honestly nothing. I mean, we honestly draft night had nothing. And so I think the thing that rocked Jazz fans' world was just how much they got for Rudy Gobert. It blew me away. I don't know if you guys were surprised by that, but I just couldn't believe it. And I love Rudy Gobert, and I'm a Jazz fan, so I'm obviously probably a little more biased towards Rudy.
Right.
And Rudy really is like the reason Utah's been like a playoff team for the last 8 years, really. And Donovan Mitchell is the one that made him he's like the guy that raised their ceiling in a way. Yeah, like I guess that's how I describe it. Rudy like created that floor for the Jazz, and then Donovan is the guy that kind of gave them the potential to have like a bigger ceiling. And as far as like, and that was the thing about last season was you could just kind of tell Donovan wasn't quite as into being on the Jazz last year as he was the year before. I actually think Knicks fans will be surprised how good Donovan can be. I don't think his heart was in it last year, actually, with the Jazz, because I think he really was kind of disenfranchised a little bit. But this is the guy that against the Denver Nuggets dropped like 50-something points. He's the guy that against the Clippers on a bad ankle was averaging like 35 a game in the playoffs on like ridiculous percentages. I mean, he is like I know it's like a lot of picks probably for Knicks fans and Grimes and Obi Toppin. But Donovan Mitchell is legitimately, when he's at his peak, it's like Steph, Dame, and then Donovan Mitchell has a chance to be kind of like that third small elite scorer in the league. He really truly is like an elite scorer, 3-level scorer. The thing that's been impressive to watch with Donovan is how he's always been elite spot up 3-point shooter. I don't know if people realize that when his rookie season, his spot up 3 is like always been around 40+%. He's a high level shooter when he on catch and shoots. But what's been interesting is that his pull up 3, when he's in the pick and roll and he pulls up from 3, has steadily gotten better every year. I mean, the Knicks are getting a guy, if the trade happens, that is hitting his prime And I have a feeling he could have just an absolutely monster year for the Knicks next year if he's on the Knicks.
Wow.
Offensively.
Right.
We know the defensive limitations, but I wonder if, I cover this team and I do the post games and the recaps and things. Donovan's a better defender than he showed. Because here's one thing that's interesting about Donovan too is he's not as big height wise as you would think, but he's
Strong.
built he's strong. I mean, he came into the league on his rookie year. He was 215 pounds. I mean, 215 pounds at 6'1", and he is he's built like a strong safety in the NFL. He is he is strong, and he powers through guys. And then you combine that with his quickness. I mean,
athleticism, even though he's gotten injured,
goodness.
but still.
Yeah, and you know what? Honestly, he is an elite scorer because no one can stay in front of him. And then when he's hitting that pull-up three in the pick and roll when they go under, it's lights out. I mean, that's how he's honestly. And so he's someone that would make, I don't know if they'll keep Jalen Brunson, or I'm assuming that it would be Brunson and Mitchell as your backcourt. That's going to be an offensive, that's a pretty amazing duo of guards scoring the ball for you. They're going to score a lot of points. It'll just be, I think the question for the Knicks is defense, but I think they could be better than people think.
Yeah, I mean, they're undersized, but I think their will and intent to play defense will be there, especially under a coach like Tibbs, because that's what they practice. I think for me, as a Knicks fan, it's knowing how his ball usage in Utah is very high. Mitchell needs the ball in his hands to really operate. And now that we have Jalen Brunson, who's going to be your typical point guard, sort of running the offense. I just wonder if he may go through some cold spurts as a primary ball handler. And that's my biggest concern with Donovan, is just getting him into the flow of the game and making sure that he gets his opportunity to shine and get shots up. Of course, he's going to need to shoot somewhere around 20 to 30 shots a game.
He's not afraid to do that. I'll tell you that.
Right. But when you match him with a guy like Randall and RJ Barrett, is there enough basketballs to go around? Everyone sort of wants to get theirs off. And that's the biggest thing for me as a Knicks fan, seeing RJ's progression over the last year and a half, seeing him become sort of a number two guy, some would say. I wanted to see him take that next step, right, in his career. And now with Donovan here, it may backtrack that a little bit. Maybe I'm wrong, but it seems like, a guy like Mitchell is going to need the ball in his hands, and he needs to put up some shots. So that to me shows that the Knicks may be looking at Barrett as a third option, more so than a number one or number two. So I guess we'll see.
Well, you mentioned Julius Randle, and I think one thing I like about Randle is he does handle the ball, and he's a good passer, at least from what I've seen. And the nice thing about Mitchell is he does play off the ball really well. And like I said, he's a good spot-up three-point shooter. So if Jalen Brunson has the ball and they double him or something like that, or he has a bad matchup, if Mitchell's open at the three-point line, he's an elite three-point shooter just as a spot-up three-point shooter. He's fantastic. The ball will be in his hands a lot. I think one other thing that's interesting is that the Knicks have Mitchell Robinson as their center. I'm assuming he's going to be their starting center. He plays a very similar game to Rudy Gobert in that he is kind of a rolling big man. You throw him alley-oops and things like that. I mean, they're not the same, obviously, but pretty similar offensive style. And Donovan has been playing his whole NBA career with Rudy Gobert. So he knows how to use someone like Mitchell Robinson pretty well. And so and Rudy Gobert's pretty limited offensively. So I don't know. I actually think it's pretty seamless fit for Donovan Mitchell to just jump into that guard role with Brunson. And then, I really liked Barrett, but I hope if he can take it to another, I think one thing that would help him is if he can just take it to another level as a defender on the wing. Right. And be just because he's going to kind of have to be honest. If the Knicks can be like a, 15th ranked defense or better, I think they're going to be a good offensive team with Brunson and Mitchell, and I think they'll be a really. If they get Donovan Mitchell, I would be surprised if they're not like a lock for the playoffs.
Right.
And then you'll see, can they take it to another level? Because Mitchell in the playoffs gets better. That's what's crazy.
He
Is
likes the big lights, right?
oh my goodness. And I have to say, like, Madison Square Garden is going to be hopping some of those nights, because there are nights where Mitchell is just like, he'll have, and Utah doesn't get as much, like, people don't watch as many Utah games, but there were nights where, Vivint Arena was just like hopping, and you can only imagine what Madison Square Garden will be like.
Every night.
It'll be electric.
Yeah. I'm interested to see how that would all play out. And what you're saying as far as what we would hope to see from RJ, which would really help some of the deficiencies that Brunson and Donovan may have on the defensive end, plus their height differential at those two spots. You definitely do need a big effort from RJ on the wing defensively, and it's one of those things that he kind of struggled a little bit with this past year, but he was improving and excelling up until this point. This past year, for whatever reason, it took a downturn. I like to think that it's because of the fact that there was a lot of things with the rosters that didn't pan out the way they expected. And so RJ got a much bigger role on offense, and he had to take a lot of shots. He became a volume shooter. So a lot of that takes its toll. And so I think that kind of hurt him. But I'm expecting, just with the addition of Jalen Brunson,
right,
possibly with a healthy Julius Randle, a focused Julius Randle, a fit Julius Randle. He comes in with a new attitude. And then if you're able to bring in a Donovan Mitchell, I mean, that's like a 4-pronged threat right there. You can't really load up on any of them. You can't cheat. You got to play them honestly. And I think that is where the Knicks can really be dangerous. So we'll see what happens if the trade does go down and we wind up with Donovan. We'll see. Now I have to preface everything with, well, if it happens,
right?
I'm pretty sure it's a matter of like when, you know what I mean?
Right.
Not necessarily. And that's actually a good point. Like, one of the things that Donovan does for the Jazz, and that, just watching the Jazz and covering the Jazz, is he was the main offensive option for Utah. And last year, Mike Conley was an all-star, but a lot of that was because Donovan Mitchell was taking the best defender every night and still scoring at an efficient level. And so guys like Mike Conley, Bojan Bogdanovic are getting open shots. I think Utah, Royce O'Neal for the Jazz, obviously traded to the Nets, had one of the highest percentages of open 3-point shots in the league.
Right.
And the same goes for Mike Conley and Bojan Bogdanovic. Some of that I think is good coaching by Quinn Snyder, but some of that is also just Donovan Mitchell taking defenders and opening things up for those other guys. So I wouldn't be surprised if you see Randle kind of have a bounce back year, because he had that all NBA year before last year. Last year, it seemed like there was, I don't know, something going on, because it seemed like he was mad about a lot of things, but I wouldn't be surprised if Randle has an easier time scoring. RJ Barrett has an easier time scoring, because, Donovan's taking on that offensive load. When you got like the Gary Paytons of the world, guarding you, then it opens things up for, Jalen Brunson, and vice versa. If you've got guys going on Jalen Brunson, it opens things up for Mitchell. I could see the Knicks being a pretty fun team next year. Donovan Mitchell, I think because people saw the defensive issues last year, I think he's become a little underrated for how good he is, because it really was kind of a down year. And I mean, I can't tell you, he truly does grab the best defender every night. And I think the biggest thing for Mitchell, I think, is that he's going to come into New York and he's going to want to prove that he was worth the trade,
Right.
If the Knicks give the Jazz 5 picks and 2 young prospects in Toppin and Grimes, Mitchell's on, and I've watched him. There are times like during that rookie season when he would go up against Ben Simmons and all that rookie of the year stuff was going on, he would really like try to prove it, and sometimes it would get him in trouble. And I think the big thing for him next year is like, he'll be awesome, but he needs to not try to like prove it too much, because he's got good teammates that, Brunson's a great player. We saw that against Utah. They killed us.
Right.
And Barrett has good potential, and Randle we know is good. So Mitchell's got to move that ball a little bit.
Well, let me ask you this. because I was always curious about this. You know, it's always different when you see a team for 82 games in a season, like day in, day out, watch the road games, the home games. You get a much bigger feel for everything that's going on in the in the the arena, what people are talking about, and all this stuff. I'm wondering from you, because we know how, from what I know, Donovan has always carried himself with class. He's been a stand-up dude, someone you can respect. I know he does a lot for his
For the
community, and he
community.
wants to do even more. So that's another thing that I think would be great in New York, because in New York they love to do
Needs it.
community-based
Right.
projects and stuff, and he'll fit right in. And I think he'll be very ecstatic about the type of backing he can get behind him. But what I wonder is the whole thing about him and Rudy Gobert. Did you ever notice? I mean, any tension or anything's happening like throughout games where you can see, oh wow, they're not clicking right now, or something is going on there? Because it's kind of been a long, drawn out thing for a while. In the beginning, when everything was first during the health and safety protocols, when we know what happened with Rudy, and he kind of took it a little lax, and then how Donovan was affected, but then it kind of calmed down, but then it picked up again, and then got to the point where then we heard, hey, it's either going to be Rudy or Donovan's going to have to get off this team. And so have you seen anything like that between the two of them?
Yeah, I mean, that was definitely real. And some of the people that we talked to, I mean, they just, the thing about Donovan is he really is a great guy, and he made it work, and they just didn't click, and I think Rudy, yeah, that's like, we could talk for hours about that, but Rudy's an interesting guy because he really truly is just a defensive monster. Like he
Right.
really truly, once you have Rudy Gobert on your team, you're immediately a top 10 defense. It doesn't matter who else is on the floor. Jazz proved that last year. But like they clashed, but you know what? They both went out and played, and they played hard. You don't have to like love all your teammates, but there just has to be mutual respect. And I think that's one thing that they had. I think Donovan Mitchell understood that, and Rudy's got an interesting personality. He's not quite the easiest guy, I think, to connect with at times. He's just kind of he's a unique guy. Doesn't mean he's a bad guy. He's just a unique guy that it doesn't seem like Rudy connects with all that many people very easily. But the thing is that there was a lot of mutual respect between the two guys. And I think they did get on each other's nerves because it was just kind of a natural like clash. I think Rudy felt like he was kind of the man, but Donovan is just the superstar, and he just rose like, he just became the face of the franchise immediately. And I don't know if there was something with Rudy where it's just like, hey, I've been here for 3-4 years before you, and now he's the, it just, I don't know. There was definitely some of that there, but the thing that was interesting was that I think there was mutual respect. And they understood that they kind of needed each other, and so they just made it work. But I think it just got to the point last year where it was pretty clear, it's not even necessarily that Rudy and Donovan not being best friends or anything like that. I think it was just kind of the team in general was just kind of done.
Right.
Quinn Snyder, I think he was pretty burnt out and left. I think that locker room for Utah was worse than people realized, but not necessarily just the Rudy and Donovan thing. I think there was a lot more going on than we even know about. In fact, I do know that there was a lot more going on than we do know.
Yeah, it's possible.
There was a lot of stuff, and it was a rough. One of the beat writers here for The Athletic, his name's Tony Jones. He called it one of the worst locker room situations he's ever seen.
Wow.
And it wasn't necessarily just Donovan and Rudy.
Right. No, I get it. Yeah. Wow.
But that was one piece of a pretty bad puzzle. And so it's not surprising to me that the Jazz brought in Danny Ainge and just said, hey, we really do just got to blow this up, start over. That's the thing, I'm so happy for you guys. You're going to be really good next year. We're going to be really bad. But like, the thing is in Utah, we're not like the Knicks, or we're not like Miami or LA, or it's not like a destination team, And so the only way Utah is going to get like that superstar is drafting. I mean, that's how we got Rudy.
Right.
That's how we got Donovan Mitchell. You go back in the day, they drafted Karl Malone, John Stockton, Andre Kirilenko, all those guys, you have to draft them. And so it's just kind of the way in Utah you do it is if you want those guys, you got to draft them. They're not choosing, Utah over Miami, you know.
Right,
So,
right.
Well, you guys got that one over us because we obviously can't draft well.
we've made our mistakes.
It's,
We've gotten
it's 30 years of what we've had is not great. So,
oh my goodness. If I was a GM, I think I just don't know how you don't put more like personnel and money
professional
into
development hasn't
drafting.
been it. Yeah, it
Yeah.
hasn't gone well.
Well, yeah. But you get Donovan Mitchell now. If you trade,
see.
you got to give us 5 picks though. So
We'll see.
Yeah. That's the tough part. I'm still got to wrap my head around that, and I'm okay with it because if everything works out the way it's supposed to work out, your team is going to be better, right? So you're hoping that the value of those picks won't be as like it's not going to be high because you're hoping to be a better franchise,
right.
better basketball team going forward. So that's okay. It's the I got to tell you what's really going to be tough for Knicks fans, and if that is the trade, it's going to be tough for some people to deal with Grimes being a part of it, but it's going to be really tough if Obi is in it.
New York native,
man.
you guys love Obi Toppin.
Obi's like the baby of the Knicks. Like it was RJ, but RJ's starting to kind of grow up before our eyes. And even though he's only 22 now, like he's maturing really fast. And Obi's older, but it's like Obi, we haven't seen Obi really get a chance to blossom because of the playing time and the rotational minutes. So it's like, like if he could just have this moment, who knows what he can be. So it's holding us, man. We're hostage.
And he's also a native New Yorker, so it's always a little tough for us to sort of give up, even though we're bringing one in.
Yeah,
it's also very like okay.
Yeah, well, that's tough.
We'll take good care of him for you. No, just kidding.
Let's swap that. Let's swap that for Cam, right? Let's move Cam instead of Obi.
Yeah. We'll do that in a heartbeat.
Here's what I'll tell you. One thing about Donovan Mitchell though is like, yeah, maybe 4 or 5. I guess in my mind, the picks are the thing that I'm most worried about. Like if the thing is like Donovan Mitchell, he's also native from that area. And the thing that also is important to remember is, you get Donovan Mitchell, he wants to be there, and you're also going to get him to re-sign. So he's got 3 years left on this deal, and I would be shocked if he didn't re-sign there unless things went just completely off the rails. Like you're going to have a guy for at least 7-8 years in his absolute prime, and it's like a sure thing. You know what you're getting. You're getting like an elite offensive star in the league that can really put up. That gets better in the playoffs. I mean, you're going to have, it's frustrating because he doesn't want to be on our team anymore. So congrats to you guys. But anyways, he's going to be in the Garden scoring 40 something points in a playoff game next year. And you guys are going to love it. Like
I can't wait to see. Oh,
look at you know what I like the most though about Donovan is the mere fact that he will handle the press the right way. Like he's one of those guys.
He's really truly such a good dude. I mean, just a few stories. I mean, he's like one of those guys. There's so many stories here in Utah where he's like there was his first few days here. He was at the Apple store at one of the malls here in Salt Lake, and there was this kid who didn't have the money to pay for his laptop, and Donovan was just like covering the costs and stuff like that. He's just like a type of guy, and no one knew about that except for the kid tweeting about it. And he's one of those guys that. He's just like a naturally really great guy. Like he does those types of things all the time. And then he's the type of guy that goes and signs autographs until all the kids have gotten their autographs and things like that. He's just a genuinely good, great guy,
right.
And I know he wants to be in New York, but I personally don't have like any animosity. And I think Jazz fans too, because he's been a great, just like teammate member of the Jazz, but also just like a great community member. He's given like a ton. And honestly, Utah's better off for having had Donovan Mitchell. Like it's just, he's a great guy. And so,
yeah. And I knew he was a great guy, James, because he's a Met fan. And and I don't mean it like that, but yeah, that too. But
it means he's long suffering. No.
Right. I mean, if he's a real Met fan and he was going to games, I don't mean this year because this year they look good, right? But he was going to games in his free time throughout the seasons. Like he's seen all the bad. He was still there rooting his team on. I'm like,
his dad works for the organization. Stop
I don't care. Listen, you don't gotta go. Listen, that's free tickets. People have given me tickets, and I don't have to go, and I haven't gone. So. But but no, I'm not talking about Met tickets because I got to go to those. But you know what I mean.
Yeah.
So here's the other thing I wanted to ask. Well, I have a couple questions, obviously, before we get you out of here. But let me do this because this is a question by Dan Marrero. But it's a question that I think a lot of the Knicks fans over here would love to know. If you have the answer, if you don't, we totally understand. Are you familiar with the Utah podcaster PK?
Yes.
Okay, so the question is, like, the story that came out today was dropped by him. Okay.
Yeah.
We are all trying to find out, is there credibility to him and his name, whether or not the story is true, because he could be getting information from somewhere else that's not credible, but we wanted to make sure that he's a credible source. Because I also heard, not to take, put words in your mouth or anything, but I also heard that he was the one who broke the Darren Williams trade when that happened.
So I believe it, and here's why. So Utah Jazz PR is one of the most, you guys have some strict PR stuff going on right now where like James Dolan or something wasn't letting media into the
right.
Leon Rose.
The Jazz are pretty similar. Like the Jazz are like tight-lipped. Like to get a credential to go into that locker room, it's tight, and they have it under lock and key. And like PK works for the Jazz-owned media, so he's on like whatever, like whether it was a text that he got or an email. That's why I literally, because I texted you, Ron, and I said like I might be writing a thing tonight, and it was because of that, because he's in Jazz media, so he has all those connections. And I've messaged some of the other radio people that are that I've talked to and things like that, and they seem to be pretty knowledgeable about what's going on. And so I would say the credibility is better than not, because there were some other producers in the area that, like, there was one guy, he's in the BYU media. He said he's worked with PK and that he's not someone like that just throws things out there. Like there's some people here in the market, like we don't have to dive into it, that I wouldn't pay too much attention to.
Right.
But because
which is everywhere.
Yeah, there's all sorts of kind of, it's Twitter. But like because he works for Jazz-owned media, and those guys, I mean, I can't tell you how like strict they are. I think what happened, so what's funny, and maybe you guys saw I tweeted the clip that he had said where he like got the text or something.
Right. Yeah.
And it made me wonder it made me wonder, like, well, what was that? Was that like from Jazz PR letting them know this is coming and get ready, or what that was? Because then he did like people were saying it was a retraction, and I listened to that. He didn't deny what he said. He just said like it's gonna happen. And so I actually, honestly, I wonder what I think is probably going on right now. And this, maybe it's me hoping, maybe I'm wrong, maybe the trade doesn't happen. Is my guess is like either owners are signing off on it right now, because with these trades you have to have owners sign off. You have to talk to the league office. You've got to call them and say, hey, is this, does this work? Is this allowed? Is this all, if they give us this pick with this protections, can we do that? And blah, blah, blah. I wouldn't be surprised if, honestly, the trade happened tomorrow just because of that PK thing.
Right.
But it could be, I don't know. I don't want to be the bearer of bad news here. But...
No, I hear you, and I don't want to put you on the spot.
You're good. I'm okay being the bad guy.
No, I just wanted to give, like, not all rumors are bad rumors. Like some rumors originate from someplace, and there's some truth behind it. So you can't always, like, people want to shoot the messenger. And sometimes that's not fair. There's been a lot going on. Don't get me wrong. In this past 2 weeks, there's been crazy stuff being said. And some of us, I was one of them. I jumped out the window a little bit and I started running with something. But now I'm taking a step back.
There's just, and he's not a reporter. He's not Tony Jones. He's not working for the Salt Lake Tribune and stuff like that. So he's not, or the Athletic or anything like that. But he is under Jazz-owned media. So gotcha. He is. Right. He is someone that,
there's
like,
some credibility.
Yeah. Well, all right. So I mean, that's
he would have. He would have
can work with
access
that.
to information.
Right,
So
right.
that's what I would say is he would have access. So that's why I tend to kind of think, well, he probably heard something, you know.
Yeah, I mean,
So
I'm hoping they're still talking. Whatever, we'll see. Go ahead, John. I'm sorry.
for our Knicks fans that are obviously chatting up a storm right now, and a
I
lot of
can't
us
see.
here are very like scorned from years past with dealings and trying to make trades happen. What in your perception, what is the percentage of Miami being able to come in and swoop something in front of Utah? What would you say would be a percentage?
Well, I mean, I guess I could see it. I think Danny Ainge is using that for leverage more than anything. You know, it's I I believe the reports that say Donovan has interest in Miami. I mean, honestly, who wouldn't? I mean,
Right.
young basketball player in Miami, it seems like a pretty good gig. But uh I just don't, just from a Jazz perspective, I would much rather deal with the Knicks. One, because, you know, maybe the Knicks will implode. I'll just be honest. Maybe the Knicks don't do a good job with Donovan. Maybe Tibbs gets fired next year and things. I don't know.
Right.
But like the Heat just have a better track record of being good, and it just feels like those picks would be better. I feel like I'm being a jerk by saying that. I'm not
No,
trying to
no,
offend you
I'm-
guys.
no.
at all.
Let's keep it real.
We keep. Yeah, I was just gonna say we keep it real here, and what you're saying is what
Has
people
happened
you
in
would
the
think in
past, yeah.
Utah ownership would be thinking as well, like the probability of the picks being better, the multitude of picks we can offer a lot. Maybe the player assets aren't as good as what Miami can offer, but you know.
But here's another thing, and I think it's interesting. So Danny Ainge and Pat Riley, my headphones might jump off here, but Danny Ainge and Pat Riley do not like each other, and there's a rivalry there. And I don't think Danny Ainge, just from spite, would take anything less than what he asked for. He might be willing to go down for the Knicks and to do Donovan a solid, because it keeps the Jazz good with CAA. Because if Utah wants to have draft picks come into Utah to work out next year when they're tanking, they're not going to want to have a bad relationship with CAA. So I think the Knicks have that in their advantage a little bit, keeping that relationship nice. I mean, Danny Ainge is not going to make a decision based off of that, but I think those are two interesting pieces of the puzzle. Ainge and that Riley rivalry is like real. And sometimes Pat Riley annoys me that he can just like say, "Oh, we're interested," because Pat Riley's always interested in Jazz players, you know, like, "Oh, Pat Riley's always interested in," I mean, because he's going after Kevin Durant too, you know. It's like, well, who is it Miami trying to get, you know?
And since
So
he's moved on from the Knicks, he's always tried to put a little something on the Knicks, even if if it was like having the Knicks overpay for a player, he's always throwing something in our way. So
I know
it
he
wouldn't
is.
surprise me.
Here, let me plug in my
He's
headphones.
a shark. He's a shark.
He's a
That's what he
shark,
is.
and you know what? One thing I've learned with Danny Ainge here. Oh, I think I'm good. Sorry. Danny Ainge, the patience he plays with has been pretty. I didn't realize it from his time in Boston, but he's willing to wait. He really, truly. And that trade with Rudy was, I mean, I had heard rumors that they were trying to trade Rudy the trade deadline before. So he literally might have been waiting for a year just to get what he wanted. And so he is willing to wait. And he is like that thing where they say, "Oh, he's willing to go into the season with Donovan." I think that's 100%. Like he's willing to like wait. But I think 5 picks plus Grimes and Toppin, that's a really nice deal. I think Jazz fans would be excited about that. I think the question is, what are the protections? Are they unprotected? How many are unprotected?
Don't forget Fournier. He's really a great shooter.
Fournier, you know what's funny is, yeah, I can't tell if you're joking or not, but all I know is Fournier's playoff record is not pristine, and so I don't know. He might help us get, Victor Wembanyama. We'll see. Hopefully.
Okay.
Yeah, right. You never know. And I know
that's the unicorn. Nice. That's the next guy.
Yeah.
That's who we're looking at.
I did hear that it is possible that we don't know anything for certain, but that the trade is definitely
Lumen,
something that's moving along, and that possibly what they're doing is trying to figure out that 24 million that needs to be kind of moved over to Utah and what veteran players need to go in order to make up that amount. Because Fournier can't make it up by himself, and just figuring out who you're throwing in. Because we know that they want a couple young pieces, but those young pieces may be making minor money. So just who else might have to go in that to make the money match. So we'll see. I had 2 more questions for you, and then I wanted to get you out of here because I know you've had a thrilling night at dinner.
Sorry, it was my father-in-law's birthday, and so I had to go there. And the restaurant was not hurrying. I'll just tell you.
Nah, that's okay. Don't worry about it.
Happy birthday to him.
Yes, happy birthday to your father-in-law.
Yeah.
Tell him the guys are still Knicks fans and nothing but Knicks. Like we said, what's up?
Yeah, I will.
So here's a question that I wanted to know, because being that I'm sure you've got a bunch of subscribers that have a feeling about what's going on. How do people, and yourself included, feel about the direction of the Jazz organization now? I mean, I know some of the problems you guys have in Utah as far as attracting talent, oddly enough, is the same type of issue we have with the Knicks to attract talent, which is crazy because we're in one of the biggest markets in the world in New York. And for whatever reason, when it comes to New York basketball, the Knicks struggle to get people to come in here because of
the pressure,
previous stuff, right? We don't
have a problem with old players coming here,
right? Yeah, we can get the old players. Yeah, that's not an issue. So I'm wondering, like, how do you feel, and how do the Utah faithful feel about the direction of knowing that Utah is ready to get their rebuild on and kind of go from there and see what happens? Like it's a tough process to go through.
I personally, so I'll tell you what I think, and I'll tell you what I think fans, and I'm just going to plug this in while I talk. But Jazz fans are kind of mixed. I mean, there's like the average fan that's probably just wants the Jazz to be good, and then there's the fan that kind of knows that, like, I would say more like the fan that's more informed. Sorry. No there's the fan that just knows that this is the way to get a star. Like, I think one of the things Jazz fans have kind of struggled with is, like, what is the end goal for the Jazz? Do you want to be this team that can make the playoffs and you're a fun team with, like, good personalities? Like, Donovan Mitchell has an amazing personality. He's super easy to root for. Rudy Gobert, for all the kind of uniqueness, is a really great guy and donates to charity. He has the Rudy's Kids Foundation that he's helped out tons of kids. Like, every block Rudy Gobert did last year, he donated $1,000 to help kids in need and things like that. So both really genuinely great guys. And there's the fans that love those guys. Part of fandom is just like falling in love with certain guys, like you guys are with Obi Toppin and these guys that you kind of grow with. So I think it's been a little hard for some of them to see Rudy go. I think honestly, a lot of fans they were so shocked by the Rudy trade that I think they've had time to kind of see where the team's going with things. It's pretty clear, like, this era of Jazz basketball is this chapter is ending and it just means a new chapter. And, it's like, to get that superstar in Utah, we had to get him in the draft. And Donovan Mitchell, we got at 13, which was, we struck gold with that. I hate to hurt your feelings. Thank you for not drafting him.
This is where we fall short.
Thank you for joining us, James. It's been a pleasure. Man, it's a tough one, man. Oof.
Yeah, that's tough.
But yeah,
that would hurt.
I know. Thank you very much. Thank you.
Well, maybe things work out in the end. Maybe they work out in the end, huh?
Maybe.
But that's just kind of, I think, how Jazz fans look at it. They just needed, once the Rudy trade happened, I think they knew kind of where that was going. And so I would say they're ready for it. I think at this point, they kind of have seen it coming. The rumors for Donovan Mitchell were all season last year. So I think Jazz fans have kind of expected this a tiny bit, because Donovan never really, I think it was pretty clear Donovan's been ready to go to New York for a little while. And this has probably been in the works for a lot longer than we even know. But he never refuted any rumors, really. He never tweeted out, like, I want to be in Utah.
Stay true. Right.
So, it's fine. I think, personally, I think Donovan's one of my favorite players ever. If he goes to New York, I'll be honest, my grandpa was a Knicks fan. So like the Knicks are kind of my number 2 a little bit. So I do kind of
Very
keep an
nice.
eye on the Knicks a little bit, but so I get to kind of root for the Knicks and the Jazz still, but I think Jazz fans in general have kind of accepted it, and they kind of know this is kind of where it needs to be.
Right.
After the Donovan
Not,
trade, I think the Jazz are waiting for the Donovan trade to happen, because they still are looking at probably trading Mike Conley, still probably trading Bojan Bogdanovic. You know, if you guys want to give us another unprotected, you can have Bojan Bogdanovic if you want.
You know what? I mean, honestly, I don't know if we have any more to throw around if
I
this whole thing
know.
goes down, but Bogdanovic wouldn't be a bad player to add to the
He's
Knicks. I always
he's
like his
honestly
game.
he's a
Yeah.
solid, really good offensive player. Really
Right,
good.
right. Once again, guys, if you're just joining us, we're talking to James Hansen of the SLC Dunk, as well as the Hoops Nerd Jazz podcast, giving us some insight into how things are moving in the world of Utah, how they feel about things going down over there. It's always nice to get a different perspective. And, you know, we do hope that if this trade does go down, we can have a relationship where we'll have some stuff to talk about going forward, man. Maybe what'll happen is, you know, you guys will get some of our young promising guys that we have to include, and you know, we can touch base and see how they're doing over there, how you guys like them, and then we can talk to you
Yeah.
about, oh man, we love Donovan.
That's right. Well, I hope he does amazing for the Knicks, because I just wish him well. I don't think, you know, it's not going to be one of those things. You know, the Gordon Hayward thing was way different. It felt like he was being dishonest with the Jazz. And I know he had behind the scenes told the Jazz certain things. And then, man, that day he went, it was like honestly surprising. But this with Donovan feels different. It feels like you kind of knew it was coming. The Jazz aren't being left with nothing. They actually get a lot. And so I wonder if Donovan feels good about that too, that he's leaving Utah in like a good place as a team, you know? And so it just feels a lot better. It's like more, I don't know. It's like two teams are winning in a way.
Right.
Which is why I believe that Danny Ainge does have Donovan's, you know, best interest at heart, and this is what the location that he wants to come is New York. I do have a question around his brotherhood with Eric Pascal, because I know they've been friends for a very long time, and I'm not sure if Eric is signed with Utah currently.
No, so that was what was interesting, is like we kind of knew something was up with Donovan. So Royce O'Neal, who went to the Nets, he's actually really close with Donovan. He's one of his best friends on the team. And when that trade happened, I think every Jazz fan was like, wait a minute. Because like the year before, it felt like they were making a lot of trades to try to make Donovan happy. Like they brought on Eric Pascal, who's his friend growing up. Right. And Royce O'Neal got a contract, you know, extension, and there's another player on the Jazz. His name's Trent Forrest. You guys probably aren't familiar with him, but he was actually really close to Donovan, and they didn't re-sign him this year. So there are like three things they did that was like, it was pretty. I mean, honestly, if you're reading the tea leaves,
right,
I think they were planning on just kind of moving on from Donovan, and they wouldn't make those moves if they weren't planning on moving him. You know, so they don't sign his best friend, trade Royce O'Neal, don't re-sign Trent Forrest.
Right. The writing was on the wall.
They're definitely, the writing's on the wall. So I think once the Rudy Gobert trade happened, they made because honestly, the Jazz haven't made a single move that makes the team better. You know what I mean?
Right.
Like we haven't signed a single free agent. They haven't really made a trade that makes them better. So it's pretty clear what's going on.
It's tough. It's tough. Go ahead, John. I'm sorry.
No, I'm just saying that's sort of what you do when you try to rebuild, and you know you start your season. I wouldn't say hoping to tank, but you play that role. You know, you're going to be bottom of the barrel, and
I hope we don't win. I hope we win 10 games or less.
Yeah, that's the hope. The problem is if you guys bring Obi, he's one of those guys who wants to win every game.
Well, he's a lot of fun.
Same as
he's
Grimes.
Athletic.
Yeah.
So I bet they'll get a lot of time. I think it'll be nice to see them develop if they come over. That we also have Jared Butler, who we drafted last year, and
that's a really good
showing that he's a pretty good point guard. He hasn't been shooting the ball super well, which is kind of it's kind of interesting because in Baylor he was a good shooter, and it hasn't
Right.
really. But anyway, so it would be like Jared Butler. It's funny, I don't even know who. I mean, so many players are going to be moved. I don't know who's going to be on the team come day one because I
Right.
think Conley's going to be moved, and even the guys they traded for from Minnesota, like Malik Beasley. I don't know if he'll be on the team.
Patrick Beverly.
Exactly.
Right.
I don't think Patrick Beverly's going to be on the Jazz. I think they're going
Mhm.
to probably move him to a team that wants to win now.
Right.
And they also got, his name's Jared Vanderbilt. Seems like he might be on the Jazz.
Vanderbilt's good.
And he's
Right.
pretty young, so I could see them wanting to develop him with like Toppin. But they're gonna run young guys. I just don't see Mike Conley being on the Jazz next year, or Bogdanovich or Beasley. They're too good, honestly. Utah.
All right. And don't you guys got I see Almighty Finesse mentioned Walker Kessler.
That's right. He's our first round pick we got.
I like him. I like him.
Yeah, so he'll, that's going to be an interesting lineup. We're not going to win a lot of games, but we'll be interesting. But
Yeah.
the goal is to go after Wembanyama. I mean, it's
Right.
Wembanyama Rama in Utah is what it is.
Listen, that kid is special.
You better trademark that name right there.
Yeah,
Put it on
I know.
some
But yeah, he's the he's the prize of that draft, and so everyone's going to try to, it's not a for sure thing. You don't win, you don't,
Right.
It's really tough because if the Jazz were to lose every game and get the worst record in the league, they're going to get tons of ping pong balls, and I think you're guaranteed like a top 3 pick or something like that. But to do that and get that 3rd pick, ooh, that's rough.
Yeah. Well, and it's it's no sure thing these days because the bottom 3, it's the same odds. So
right.
That's going to be a crazy night. We'll see.
But hey, man, listen, you guys, if you consummate this trade with us, we'll wish you all the best. Get your Wembanyama Rama on, man.
Same here. Good luck to Donovan in New York.
Right.
So real quick for our guests that are showing mad love today, we went over a potential trade of Obi Toppin, Grimes, Fournier, 5 picks, right? For 5 first-round picks.
That seems like
to the Jazz,
and that makes sense because it sound like a lot of the reports were like Ainge was asking for like 6 or 7. Sounded like the Knicks were saying 4 or less. So it kind of makes sense that 5 is kind of this middle ground they found, and really, it's what are the protections on them?
Right. Yeah, I mean, I could see that happen, or some type of variation similar to that. I could definitely see being something that could take place. It's very likely, I would say. So we'll see. Well, hey, man, John, do you have any final words for James?
No, James, appreciate you for coming on. It was a pleasure talking with you, and looking forward to what happens in the regular season.
Oh, and I'm sorry I was late.
No worries.
Tried to get here as fast as I could, but thanks for having me.
No, man. Thank you for being here and for working with us and making this happen. Throughout everything that might have popped up, we found a way to get it done. That's all that matters. And definitely, like I said, the invitation is definitely open. We would hope to get you back, especially if the trade happens. You guys get some of these Knicks players. I'd love to talk to you again about how they're being received over there. And well, obviously, how we'll love Donovan over here. So.
We may have jerseys already.
Yeah, man. Listen.
I could send you mine. I just bought one this year. So.
Oh no. That's the worst.
No, it'll be a good jersey. It'll be fun.
All right. Well, thanks, James. Thanks for being here. You have a great rest of your night, and hopefully, you'll have something to write about very soon.
You bet. Definitely.
All right.
All right.
So, guys, I think that you know what? This was a really great interview. Fantastic time having James here with us. Hopefully you guys got some information out of it. Some of the Utah fans, if y'all tuned in, I hope y'all were happy to see James here talking about your team and giving you some insight. Before we get out of here, what I wanted to do is we talked about and the prevailing theme with regards to Donovan Mitchell is he's a really good guy. He calls it as he sees it. He's very honest. He's straightforward. He's a truly, I think a good individual. I don't want to pump people up too much because, nobody's perfect, right? But he is a really good guy, and I think it would be great for the Knick organization to get him in here, and for New York on the whole to have another athlete that has that type of
Mentality.
charisma and all that integrity, all of that would be great for New York. What I wanted to do is, we did just recently get the the official swearing in of Jalen Brunson.
Right.
So I wanted to play something real quick because we do, you guys remember that one of the big things for Jalen Brunson, not that this was the only thing, but it's kind of what have you done for me lately, was the fact that he got busy against Utah and he kind of lit Donovan up a little bit, as well as other guys on the team, but he had some
Right.
good games in that Utah series. So I wanted to play for you guys just a little quick sound bite of Donovan Mitchell and kind of what he thinks about Jalen Brunson, because they could be teammates, and it's good to see what he would think about being here on the Knicks with Jalen Brunson. So let's get that up real quick.
You guys knew Bronson was a good player, but was it all startling or shocking?
I mean, I can't lie. Everybody's making, like, trying to, how do I say this? They're trying to act like Jalen having 41 is like, the craziest thing. Like, that's Jalen Brunson. Like, I know JB. I've known JB for a while. Like, he's a talented player. Like, obviously Luka's out. That's the storyline. But Jalen Brunson can go. So I want people to kind of put respect on that. Let's not act like, he's a bad basketball player. You know what I mean? Like, I think that's one thing. I think he deserves respect in that regard. He's a guy, and at the end of the day, we do a lot of things in this league. Like, there's certain, like, guys can go. And when your star player's out, levels rise. That's just how it necessarily is, and he did a good job of that. And there's things we can do to make it harder on him, make it tougher. He was able to get to his spots, and like I said, when you watch the film, you see we can make things tougher. But Jalen Brunson can go, and I think people need to kind of respect him in a little bit more in that regard, because he's a talented player. He's a winner. He went to Villanova. Jay Wright's done a great job with guys at Villanova, but he's a tough basketball player, and I'm not saying it's like, like we're expecting 40 tonight. We're expecting, like, if we're going to go out there and, try and make it tough on him. But, having 41 is not like, oh, my God. Like,
Right.
It's like he can go.
Yeah. Ron, you're on mute.
That just points once again to the fact that Jalen Brunson is a really solid NBA player. It's not a fly-by-night type of thing with Jalen. He can score the basketball. Like, that's something he could do in his sleep. And, what's funny about Jalen, real quick before we get out of here, if you watch some of Jalen's workout stuff, the type of stuff he's trying to do in practice and play, I mean, he is getting busy, man. Like, going between his legs, behind the back, spinning around, then hit him with the layup. Like, Jalen is not playing when it comes to working on things offensively. So I know he's small, and he's not the most athletic, so he doesn't look as flashy. But let me tell you, the guy's got skills. So we're definitely fortunate to have Jalen here, and I think these guys are going to benefit from his game.
Right. Yeah, I mean, at the end of the day, he's got heart, and that's what we need. We haven't had a point guard. I mean, some would say Jason Kidd, but Jason Kidd was a little past his prime when he was with the Knicks. But we haven't really had a true and true point guard in his prime. Young enough to make something of, getting us into the playoffs year in and year out. So I'm looking forward to seeing him in action this year. And if we bring in Donovan, I want to see what this duo will bring. Undersized, but I think the effort will be there.
I agree. Well, thank you guys for tuning in with us. I know it's a late show. Like I said, we did that to kind of accommodate James's schedule being on Utah Mountain Time. It's a little different. It was like when it's 10 o'clock here, it's 8 o'clock over there. So we wanted to make it work, and hopefully you guys enjoyed the show and the dialogue. So appreciate you guys always supporting the MBK family. Continue to support Knicks and Bruises, Queens Court, the controversy with Josh, aka Uncle Fulio. All of Sim's shows, whether it be shoot arounds or post games, pre games, whatever he does. And also, Dope Soul Sports Talk with the Queen as well, Steph. But also start supporting my man International Andy, because he is throwing his name in the ring, man. He's putting out some great content, man. I think he's already done maybe 1 or 2 shows so far, and they've both been hot fire. So definitely salute to everybody in the MBK fam, and keep rocking with all of us. And guys, if you don't mind, continue to support Still Nick fans. We love the support. We're trying our best to give you good content. Our weekly show on Mondays, Know the Ledge on Saturdays at 11 a.m. And, obviously the NBA report here on Thursdays, usually at 8 p.m. But like I said, we made a couple changes for tonight's show. Thank you guys.
Past my bedtime.
Right. Yeah. Getting. I'm about to have some tea, man. I don't know. Thank you guys for always rocking with us. Appreciate y'all. Salute to my man Jose. He's on the 1s and 2s, always holding us down. He couldn't be here tonight. Got a little late for him, but that's okay. He's always with us. So thank you guys once again. We appreciate you. We'll catch you on the next one. Hopefully, with some really good news about the Knicks doing something that we all love, man. I'm hoping for the best.
I'm with you.
Take care, guys.
Have a good night.
Here.
Stay blessed.
Yes.
Run that.